Good morning. My name is Jamie Rich, and I want to officially welcome you to this week's edition of Rise and Shine Sundays. If you're joining us on the Breakthrough Show Network, good morning. We're happy to have you with us in the chat. And if you'd like, or if you're hearing this on Facebook or any of the other places, the platforms that we broadcast from, you can actually join us here in the room at rsslive.org. And this is a very special Sunday for you to be here with us because, in addition to our regular lively discussion, this morning we're going to equip you with a magic wand. And that's because when you look at our inquiry this week, which is also the longest question that we've ever discussed, essentially that's what you'll get, and that's what we're inviting you to embrace this with us this morning, is the fact that you might have a magic wand, and we want to speak about that. So the question for this week is, if everything in the world, everything in your world were in your favor, think about that for a minute. Gonna have to just kind of go to that space. If everything in your world were in your favor, what would you do differently right now? So joining us this morning are a fellow assemblage of magic wand holders. And now we are officially back in the circle. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we're glad that you, the five of us, could be here this morning, and we're also again welcoming you. If you have some comments, this is going to be kind of different for us, isn't it, guys and gal? I usually turn to Sang to sort of define terms that we've got, but this week's inquiry sort of seems pretty clear. And do you understand then where this whole idea of a magic wand came from? Because I think some people, in order to embrace this.
Wow. We have a star.
Oh my goodness.
So what's so funny is when you were doing this just now, and I was listening, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a sign. I always think about signs, right? And literally someone went on vacation this past week, came back and gave me this magic wand, literally, right? And I was like, and literally, it really, you put your debit card in here and it you can go pay for it like that, ding. And so, but I love that you said that, because I love also to say that your word is your wand. So there we are. So thank you for bringing that. But yes, we do all the wands.
Let's just build on this, because I think that gift that you received from somebody. Can you kind of start us off? I want to hear from all of you as we kind of chime in on this morning, which is, if you did have that magic wand, but do you realize that sense of empowerment, which is just for a minute, just have that magic wand in your hand, does it change sort of how you see things, Sang?
It does and it doesn't. As a kid, I feel like all you think about is, bibbity bobbity boo, right? Right? You think about the godmother. But there is this sense of I think when you have, even if you're ever done at presentations and you have something in your hand and you're pointing, it's like a wand, right? But what I will say for myself in this instance is I got it and I was like, oh my gosh, she knows me so well. But then it's such a magical thing, even this question that you asked, because right now in my world, in my personal world, if everything is going in my favor, which I love, and my answer to your question is I want everything to continue going in my favor and then some. And so what do you do? I think we talked about a little bit, and you kind of continue to go with the flow. Maybe you need to change a wand or do something different or something like that. But I think, being able to.
Yeah, let's let everybody have their moment of empowerment with the magic wand. I really want everybody to sort of just think about, what is that like when you grab it, right? You get the Bing moment. Who would like to chime? Ray, Jaloki, who would like to chime in? Ray, Ollie, go.
Go, Ollie.
Thank you. And thank you, Jamie and Ray and everyone for your presence. You are also welcome, everyone, to comment, to ask us any question. And thank you for allowing us to wander into this space. So, of course, this word is quite clear, but I came into the etymology anyway, because it comes from the Latin favorem, which means goodwill, inclination, partiality, support. and from Cicero, from favere, to show kindness too. And then back in the Rise and Shine, I loved it because I found a link from the Proto-Indo-European root ber, to shine, glow, light, or goi, to honor, revere, worship. And so it entered in English means attractiveness or charm, before evolving to signify kind regard and an act of kindness. So this is me about the origin of word. I'm going to yield the wand.
There you go. So the wand can be an instrument of kindness. It can be an instrument of magic. What else can Ray? Do you have an idea about the wand?
Yeah, two things came to mind is as Sang was sharing with us her perspective, the wand immediately removes all barriers to your imagination, to your abilities, to your mind, everything. I'm going to add an element to it that a friend of mine said when we were having a discussion. He says, okay, let's stopping ourselves by putting barriers in front of ourselves. He said, for this conversation, we're going to suspend the law of physics. You can do anything you want. If you want to go dance on the moon, we're going to dance on the moon. So I think that's a huge element when you really consider what the wand is capable of, is don't stop, don't limit whatever you wish to do in the world or with the world.
Well, this seems like a great setup for the magic shaman in the room, doesn't it?
Yes, yes.
Well, today the magic shaman is only because he wrote, you with your wand you can do everything you want, and so
I love it.
I'm multidimensional, so everything that has been said so far, I resonate with it, and additionally, in my perspective, we all have the wand already. It's just that we are aware or not aware to very varying degree. And for myself, actually, and we can talk about more about that later, I am my wand.
So it becomes the wand is like a permission slip initially for you to do what Ray has sort of outlined, and to do it kindly and mindfully, as Sang reminds us. And Claudia, I just want to make sure we didn't get a chance to test mics or anything. And I'm assuming that you know what the conversation topic is, but in case there's anyone else joining us for the first time, our very long topic this morning is, if everything in your world were in your favor, what would you do differently right now? And so I kind of had tipped this into the whole magic wand awareness. Is there anything about magic wands or this question that kind of opens up for you this morning, Claudia? Or she could just be listening.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm here. Everything in the world right now is in my favor. And it is that way at all times. It is my reaction to what I think is in not my favor. Maybe I didn't say that correctly, but that creates tension in my world. And so I am on the path and the journey to surrender more of what I think is not in my favor at this point. I will tell you a short story though, about a journey my husband and I made after we retired. We owned a business and a building in a community in Michigan that was up and coming, and we sold it for what we wanted to sell it for. We didn't think we'd be able to sell our business, but we sold that. We moved to an area that I have always wanted to live in, and found an incredible house at an incredible price, and then found out a year later, that really wasn't where I wanted to live. And so we found our second house in the most incredible area at the most incredible price. And it was like fairy dust was being sprinkled on us from the very beginning of that whole journey. And that taught me a lot about, that's not to say there wasn't bumps in that road and there wasn't times when I felt things were not in our favor, but it taught me an incredible lesson that now when I can look back at that time, that man, it was just all there.
Yeah. What you're,
And
go ahead.
and it really is at any point in time that we look at, it's all there.
Right. And I think what you're speaking to is something that I tend to take notes when people are in magic flows, right? And that's part of what happens when you have the magic wand is that there begins to be this sort of flow, and that blocks do show up, right? And that was the whole idea is that what you were inviting us to consider, Claudia, was if you switch the idea that everything is in my favor to begin with, right? That makes the blocks look a little less strong, right? Which means, oh,
Yes.
wait, these aren't blocks, walls that keep me from doing it. They're hurdles, right? And so when people are sometimes empowered, they have to, because the first thing they're going to go to is a lot of people are going to go to the walls that are there, right? So the existence of the magic wand tries to say, well, wait, if everything were in your favor, if those walls could come down, if that magic could begin to flow, right? What opens up to you? And then you can begin to see those, just like you were trying to say, these little bumps in the road aren't these derailing moments, of disasters or, well, I could never do that. I could never do that. And all of that deep conditioning. I see a lot of you nodding. So who wants to chime in?
Well, if I may, I'd like to complement to what's being said right now, especially from Claudia, and then add another
Sure.
element. So first, you know, favor. Oli gave us some definition of favor. What comes in my mind when I hear something like that is what term, what time term are we focusing about? Is everything in my favor today or this year? It's not the same. Or in this decade, or in my lifetime, or for the legacy that I leave for my descendant in 21 generations, or for the life cycle of humanity, or for the consciousness that is outside of time. All of these define a different favor, understanding of favor. And from that perspective that is outside of time and space, yeah, I would say like Claudia, everything is already in my favor. Everything is already in the favor of all that is. Now, that's where I want to introduce it's almost not a disclaimer, but another element. I understand. I'm conscious that the question we are addressing today is posed as I, and still I want to introduce a collective dimension, because yes, like Claudia and I saw almost, I think, everyone nodding. I believe that everything is in my favor. It's just how I understand it and I respond to it. Now, however, I look at the world, and right now in the world, depending on where you live, depending on who has power over you, depending on where you grew up, depending on where you were born, the favor is not the same. And so I'm from Haiti right now. In Haiti, for most people, things are not in their favor, and it's not. And again, there will be individual who will be able to find the magic wand in themselves, in themselves, and and get out of this situation. But as a general rule, by default, right now for most people, the magic wand is almost unattainable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to make sure that we anchor this, because what you just said, you were taking it from the luminal to the grounding in the world, and I think that that's the important thing when you're talking about this subject. You have to do that delicate dance and also be sensitive to the fact that right now many people who are watching this recording do not see their lives where everything is in their favor, right? The magic begins to flow when you begin to see what that looks like. What is the reveal? What are the blockades? And yes, oftentimes, when you're living in an oppressive culture, or you're living somewhere, where there are so many things that are working against you. Part of what I hope this conversation would reveal, and maybe some people in the chat might be able to share it as well, in those moments when you do feel that sense of powerlessness, right? Because there are things that are happening in your world, what is the light? What is the light that's still in the room? Now, from a metaphysical standpoint, I'll get to you in just a second, Ollie, but from a metaphysical standpoint, I agree with you. There are all sorts of things that are at play in all sorts of other levels, right, of existence. But what I want to make sure that we anchor our conversation in is that sense of personal empowerment, because what I saw getting revealed was this idea that, wait a second, rather than saying, like, I said, well, if I could wave my magic wand, I would get world peace. Well, I'm sure somebody else in the collective is already going to wish for world peace, so I'll let their wish for world peace take care of that. I want to make sure that everybody has opportunities. I think there is enough of that outpouring, right, into the collective on the behalf of some people. I want to make sure that people are aware that this particular question that we're asking allows you to see both the magic of what's available to you and the hurdles that are in front of you, and that you can still be empowered by knowing both. Is that sort of a direction you wanted to go in, Ali, or was it somewhere else?
Yes, and really, I'm really also happy to hear after that the ray of light. But I'm loving also what shared Joloki and each and everyone, by the way. But English is really amazing because we have the same in French, but in English, I heard like the title your, and your means singular or plural also. So it could be your, it could be our also, because we are part of the collective also. We have individual values different. What I would like to convey is also that if I have a magic wand and everything is on my favor, I rather prefer to focus on the vibration, on the energy, like the classic, like peace, listening, speaking to each other,
Sure.
rather than physical elements like having cars for everyone, blah blah blah. Because for me, it's all about how could we raise raise the vibration
Yes.
for the whole humanity, and trying to share to each other what we have, because
Sure.
there is so much ego in this world.
Thank you. But saying, I want to make sure that we get in this, because when we do find out this whole idea of what's possible within ourselves to change our world, do you get that sense of that empowerment piece that I'm looking for?
Yes, and think about it like this. Well, one, I want to say world peace, beauty queens, right? That we all know that from pageants, right? From that. So I just want to say that because I was like, world peace. I was like, okay, who does that? But I understand and think think that question was a question a long time ago, and it's still the answer today. I'm sure that we all want world peace. As I say that, think about this: if I were to walk around with this magic wand, and I go bing, and then it's magical, and all of a sudden people are nice or whatever it is, right? And people see that, they want more of it because they see the energy, like we talked about a few weeks ago. They see the aura around it. They feel the energy. There's excitement. They want to know what it is. So imagine if every day, and maybe you can have a marker or your eyelash curler, or maybe it's, a keychain or whatever it is. And you say, you know what, this is going to be my magic wand today. And it's making like, okay, you know what, everything's going to work out in my favor today. Everything is going to be in that. And I love that Yoloki talked about, we didn't even define the word favor, to go, what does that mean? Right? And a favor really just means do something kind. I'm asking, can you do this for me?
Right.
I ask a favor. Can I do that? And it's, if you go in with a positive mental attitude, which I've learned from Dale Carnegie and Jim Rohn and all the guys from before, right? And having that and going in and saying, like Claudia said, everything is working out in my favor. And it's just a subtle shift.
Yeah.
If you look up every morning for the next 10 days, and you say, you know what, everything's working out in my favor. And you just go do, and just go about your day, and you're happy and you're kind and you're like, hi, Ollie. Thank you for bagging my groceries today. I love it. Thank you. Ray, what a great shirt you have on today. And if you go around and you spread that with your magic wand, which is your mouth, right? Then you will be able to see how things can work in your favor.
Right. And I believe there's some advice from above in the room from Claudia. What did you want to add to that?
Yeah. I was just going to say the exact same thing. In fact, last night we had some friends over for dinner, and we were having not this exact same conversation, but it came around to being kind and spreading that kindness. And when you do that, you're not only making yourself happier, but you're making someone else happy. And so you are spreading that magic wand and spreading everything being in not only my favor, but in someone else's life's favor. And maybe more than one.
Yeah.
Because if you make one person smile and say, wow, that was really nice, they're going to go out and do the same thing.
So there it is.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I'm repeating myself.
No, go. I've got a couple of things, but keep going.
Yeah. But I like us to, okay, first I want to say yes. And make sure we keep in mind what Jamie said about the balance between the magic wand and the hurdles, and the collective aspect of, what we're saying right now applies to certain communities, and it may not apply completely to other communities. I mean, people in Sudan right now, when you're in survival mode, being kind may not be that's just want to say that.
Well, let me introduce a term then, because a term appeared on the little piece of paper that I keep by my hand, which is what Sang was introducing us to, and maybe Claudia was reinforcing, is the idea of magic wand energy. What is that magic wand energy? And not to get vulgar or anything, but we talk about the BDE, right? Certain guys having that sort of energy. But what if you carried through your life the idea of magic wand energy, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to show up as kindness, Jaloki, because what was springing to mind when you were talking, and I'm a movie guy, so I'm going to give you the movie reference. And I'm hoping that some of you may have seen the famous movie Life is Beautiful, right? Roberto Bernini's movie about how he had to go into survival mode with his child during the Nazi occupation to try to keep the illusion alive of what was happening. And to me, that is the example of magic wand energy. When it was this whole entire situation that was the worst of the worst that we've seen. And again, we know in Sudan, we know that in other parts of the world, to be able to say, oh, hey, I'm like it's the beginning of the musical Hairspray, where you can just kind of go out and kindness is going to emanate. However, the magic wand energy I'm asking people to consider based on what you guys are talking about is the energy that is appropriate to fuel you over the hurdles that are currently present in your life. Does that land well? Raymond?
Yes, there's actually back to the movie connection. We'll just borrow what I heard in a documentary. George Lucas, who's made all these wonderful films and who's actually developed the technology, like he would say yes to the project before the technology existed to do the project.
Mm-hmm.
So his approach was, we have an idea, get a team of people together, so it starts to expand out. And he essentially would say, this is what I want to happen. The team would come back to him and say, we can't do it. It's not physically possible. He would listen. And his line each and every time from movie to movie was, okay, I want you to go back and try it again. Try it. And what's fascinating is they then brought in the people they went, oh, well, that's easy for him to say, blah, 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 blah. But they said, okay, let's go back. So when they went back and did it, they came back the following meeting and said, you know what? We didn't think it was going to work, but we came up with this. And that was the magic that he had given them the permission slip, as you said before, Jamie, as well as he removed the barrier of it won't work. Try it until you can come up with something that gets you away from the barrier. So I think the energy that we've been talking about is essentially take that energy and try it in the most appropriate form and place to make something happen. We all have that energy. So if we all try it, I think something will shift, something will change.
Well, and I want one thing to shift. There's some people in the chat that I want to make sure are included in this conversation. So if I could wave my magic wand, and if everything were going in my favor right now, I would like to invite anyone in that's listening to this on the Breakthrough Show Network, or if you're listening to it on some of the other platforms that we're on and you want to join in the conversation, I will Sang will wave her magic wand, and you will be part of this conversation. But I really do, because I think this whole idea of using your energy to overcome the hurdles, being able to, because, that's where people get so discouraged. The permission slip for the wand energy, Jaloki, I'll come back to you on this. I realize that people face personal traumas, collective traumas, geographic traumas, whatever. And the magic wand energy isn't so much there to be able to say, well, I'll, do the beauty queen response and say world peace for everyone. But what is there in that? What is magical that I can do? And if it means that I flip to living in a metaphysical awareness of where the magic comes from, maybe that's part of it. But it's that invitation to do what Ray's talking about. Use that energy as the sort of fuel, as opposed to the degenerative energy that says, well, I can't really do it. This is always going to be, and all of that just stays as the fuel. Is that fair? I mean, do you relate to this? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
Well, there is our own energy, which can be transformed when needed into fierce energy, fierce kindness, fierce love. And I think that's probably more of a feminine way, maybe not. But that when you're faced with a personal hurdle, as Sang said earlier, if we just for 10 days woke up and said, everything is in my favor, that's kind of a fierceness that we need to use to transform those hurdles into a way to move forward into everything going in my favor. And that can be used in a singular way. It can also be used in a collective way, as we're seeing happening now in many cultures. It's that fierce kindness and fierce love that I believe is going to move all of us into the direction of magic wand living.
Look at that. And you got a smile from Jaloki. I could see all of these colors shooting out of his head while he was listening to what you speak to me. What's coming? What's alive there?
All right. Be careful what you ask for. I'm gonna so as I said, I'm multidimensional, and I shared one perspective of, of response to this question from one dimension. I'm gonna share another dimension right now. If I had my magic wand right now, everything was working in my favor, I would fast forward us. I'm talking about humanity for now. I kind of include all Earth and I kind of include beyond Earth, but let's talk about humanity for now. Fast forward to the time in this timeline, because there are many possible timelines, in a specific timeline where we all ascended, where we are all completely healed, where we're all completely aware of who we are, and we are aware of our collective consciousness and collective heart. But fast forwards, it means, like in the next minute, we're there with the memory and the consciousness of the journey it took us to get there. If it had been through time, which may be, hundreds of thousands of years, I don't know. And from that perspective, I am willing to bet that when we look back at things that we don't want right now, which are, the extreme suffering, trauma, etc., what we want to change with our magic wand, and we will realize, oh, they were actually in our favor.
I think all of us needed to sit with that for a moment, right? Because what you're inviting us to consider is the idea that there is this ancestral wisdom, right? There is this, whenever you have any of this magic wand awareness, that's what keeps you in the responsibility of the right use of your power. If you don't understand the trauma that you've been through, then the things you're going to wish for, what is that movie with Jim Carrey where he's God? Is it God Almighty, whatever it is?
Bruce Almighty. I was ready to talk about that.
Yeah, and where everybody wishes to win the lottery, and so now everyone becomes a millionaire, and it's like, oh, okay, well, there we go. Now that money's not worth it. Ollie, was there something you wanted to add into that?
Yes, exactly. I was thinking about the movies about Bruce Almighty. That was I was thinking about Joloki because he looks like Morgan Freeman, but so it's like for having a bit of a joke. But then there is the mask. When we have all our desires and realize that we can change a lot of things. But I think our magic wand is not a physical item. Our magic wand within each of us, and in the now, the actions that we, even little steps that are sprinkling our actions that could make this world a better place. I was also saying that if I had a kind of a magic wand energy, it would be not for having anything, but for each and every human being to be able to connect or strengthen the link between their mind, their heart, and their body. Because it's really when they are connected, when we are all, as much as we can, connected with the body and the heart, that we are really connected to our humanity, and that we realize I maybe cannot control what I maybe not, I cannot do anything about what's happening in Sudan or Haiti, but let me just connect with someone there and say that my thoughts and my heart are with them. So that's the thing that I can do.
Well, and beautifully said. And I want to build on what you were talking about, Ollie, because to get to that altruistic part of the if you will, the magic wand energy, I want to go back to there was an experience I had in my past where I went to one of those motivational speakers. It was a motivational speaker who I don't know if those of you are old enough to remember. There was a speaker who convinced a lot of people to even go into a sweat lodge in Arizona where two of them suffered some issues. I went to that one of those gentlemen's workshops at an invitation of a friend of mine. And part of that is they were using a lot of neurolinguistics, a lot of things to get people motivated around the whole idea that they had power and they were able to do things. And so I purposely went just as an attendee, just because I was more interested in the mechanics of all of these events, because those type of events frighten the bejesus out of me, because they're very cult like, because they do, Ollie, just like you were talking about, they drive things to think about. Like, this is a gentleman who used to say, I have some free copies of my CDs, and whoever rushes down to the stage to grab them out of my hands wants them the most, right? But the tactic that bothered me the most was he said, now I want you to turn to the person next to you and have a conversation about what you might want. And you can just say, if you want a new car, I want $25,000, I want $1 million or whatever. And I'm going to take everybody, turn to the person, even if you don't know them, turn to the person next to you and tell them. And so this woman who I didn't know, who was just a normal middle American, turned to me and I said, well, what is it that you want? And she said, well, I want $25,000, a new car, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, wait, that's what he said you could have. But what do you want? And she was like, well, I want the $25,000 and the new car and one of the things that I think that we forget sometimes is because we've had the chance to be able to look at that responsibility in terms of the altruism. A vast majority of the people have never had the chance to sit with themselves and say, what is it that I want? Because they've been living in situations that have kept them disempowered, right? And so I wasn't going to sit there and go, well, you rube, come on, lady, figure this out. What is it that you want? My heart broke for her because no one had ever said to her, I would like to have a really beautiful house to live in one day. Great. What does that magic wand energy reveal to you as far as some of those hurdles? Do you remember last week when our visitor was talking about how, when Sandra was talking with us last week about the whole idea that some people can't even, when we were talking about the idea of envisioning, observing, she said some people can't even get to the point of observing. Right, they're still in what Jaloki and saying and we're talking about, of that survival mode, right, where they haven't even had a chance to look at it. So there is a preciousness to this magic wand energy. Have I touched on anything, saying that you'd like to comment on?
Of course. I think one of the things I love, I thought you were going to go in a totally different direction with that story, so I love that. But I love that you, not want to say call her out, but like said, hey, that's what he said, right? Because a lot of times if we think about the things that we also will say, well, it's because somebody else has it or this. And I think if a reframe of that to go, I want that, how do I go get it, right? How do I go get that? Because I was thinking about something, I can't remember who said it earlier, and I apologize, I try to remember that, is I tell everyone, since people were little kids, all the kids, everybody, you can do whatever you want. I had somebody 3 years ago saying, saying, I love your life. I want to be like you when I grow up. I was like, you can, right? And it's like, I'd say that and they go, what? How can I? I was like, well, let's talk about your life. How's your life set up? Like, what is it that you want? Well, then as we uncovered things, you want this life, but your life isn't set up to have this life, right? And really, it was not like this. Trust me, my life is wonderful, but it's that it was the freedom and different things. But you see something and you want it, but what does it take to get that? Right? Where's the journey that goes with getting the $25,000. The journey with what kind of new car do you want? How do you know you want that car?
And
And just continuing that.
yeah,
Yes.
Claudia, go, because I know we're building here. Go.
I look at this more as not what I want, but who I am being and who I want to be later, who I'm building up to being. I know who I am being right now. But I see some tweaks I want to make in who I'm being. So to me, it's not that magic wand is not about what I want. I feel very fortunate in that. I mean, we're not rich by any means. We don't have, all this huge stuff, but I am happy with where I am at right now in a physical plane, but right now I'm working on who I am being.
There's a spherical concept in here somewhere, isn't there, Ray? I feel like can you pull us into that? Because do you know where I'm going?
Yeah. I just love the where the conversation has now shifted. For the magic wand is not for acquiring; it's for becoming. What would I like to become? What would I like to see happen in the world to me or to others around me? Because it's, as Yolokiev has said, it's a what's the collective effect of what I'm wishing for? Because the minute we separate, as Claudia said, is that, well, the car. What does the car actually represent? If you continued that conversation, there's another side piece here, is the car represents what? Prestige? Are you after transportation? Are you after recognition that, oh, it's a Mercedes, or it's a Rolls Royce, it's a Jaguar, because or you just, I love cool cars. So that's the interesting depth of developing our ability to understand what we're wishing for. And I think there's countless science fiction shows that where what you wish for has unintended consequences.
And
So
those,
I'll toss that
those,
to you.
Sorry. No.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, those science fiction may not be fiction. They may not be even science in the way science is limited to the physical material realm right now. And I'm saying this to connect to what Jamie mentioned, which is metaphysics, because from my perspective and from my metaphysical perspective, what Claudia is offering to us right now is based on a concept that people who study metaphysics consider a law of the universe, which is that my external world reflects who I am at any moment of time. And my external world is an image, it's a message to me of where I am right now. And so if I want to change my world, I have to change myself. So the magic wand, instead of ping, 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 it's ping, ping, ping on myself.
And that's what I love about these conversations. Every time someone stops speaking, you just want to go, yeah, that's it. Oh, that's exactly it. Oh, wait. No, that's it. But, this whole idea of the magic wand allows you to be part of the becoming, right? How does it change who you are in terms of how to use this energy? I mean, it's a wonderful concept that, again, did not exist in my head prior to this conversation. And I know that there's some people who have been joining us live who may be just kind of coming into it. We've been through a long conversation this morning about if everything in the world were in your favor, what would you do differently right now? And our wonderful assemblage of folks in the room this morning, we've been talking a lot about how that arrived for us and what we found that we were becoming. And I would like to invite those of you who are perhaps watching us on the Breakthrough Show Network, and if you want to put into the chat one of those magic wand moments, I'd kind of like to switch the conversation, so that people, Claudia talked about one for herself, right? When at the very beginning of the hour, when all of a sudden that magic was at play in your world, and it just showed up there, and it just showed up there. If somebody has a story or anything that they want to recount in the chat, or is there any, I'd love to hear some examples of those times in your life when you've danced with that magic. Is there anyone who wants to call that out?
Oh,
Sang, you're
you're
muted.
muted.
Bring it back.
I'm always muting so I don't do anything silly.
We magically pulled you back.
Thank you. I want to take it back to physics a little bit, because I know, I'm not so, Newton's law of motion, is that what it is? Where for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Where, our actions have consequences in terms of like, and I know we were talking about just the nature of what we're in. So if we have this wand, where are we? And so even, and to answer your question, Jamie, there was, I began to put some things in place for myself to say, I want this, or I want to be this. So if we go back to something I said a few weeks ago when I was talking about when Deepak was on Oprah, like 2008, 2000, and I said, I want to be like that. Right. And so then everything I did in my head was working to have that emotional calmness, that emotional safety that I saw in him, and his eyes said everything to me. And just one by one, I know it's not this big grand gesture of like buying a house like Claudia, but
No.
it's the pieces where I said, I want this. And it's like, how do I get there? Knowing I've got to start at these stairs that start way down here, and then continuously take one step each time, and understand that things are going to go bad or things are going to go good. And going with the law of motion, what is my reaction to what is happening? What are the different things that are going on? And how am I taking it in to be able to say, I want those things? Just like when I decided to live here, do I want to live here because I want to live here? Or, is this where, my sovereignty is leading me? Where am I going to gain some more experience about myself to get to what I said that I wanted to be 20 plus years ago?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so being able to even say, oh, my children, I said, I want to raise my children a certain way. I raised them that way. They are now, using the magic wands in their own lives. And it's just such a magical, fun, admirable thing to watch in other people and allow them to see what the magic of their own selves.
Yeah, it is really wonderful to watch that awaken. Go ahead, Ollie. Was there something you wanted to say?
Yes, I was thinking. Can I?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I was thinking about another movie that is really I loved it so much. Back to the Future. And in the second movie, at some point, there is also a kind of ego, because was Marty that wanted to take the best lottery magazine, so that he can go to the past and win some money. But then the villain was taking it and going back to the past, and then Marty was awakening to a world where finally the villain became really powerful. And there's a link with another one that we all know, but I'm not going there. But it's really about our desire has responsibility, and also consequences. It's also to realize why do I want that. So that's my share.
Yeah.
I'd like to share an experience that I have and I'm still going through with you, Jamie, about what the magic wand energy is all about for me. besides the example I shared with you earlier, several years ago, I created a vision board, but I did several vision boards based on different aspects of my life. One of them was what I experienced with the experience I shared with you earlier. But another one was I did a separate vision board on the legacy I wanted to leave. And since then, and I looked back at that vision board and I go, okay, I've done a lot of that already. So I need to create a new legacy vision board because now I'm going beyond what I originally wanted to leave as my legacy. So I did another one. And much of that has been achieved and what I want to leave. Now I'm not working on it. It's a joy. It's a to create a new legacy vision board because I've seen that when I look back on those vision boards, I go, okay, that has become reality for me. And now I need to move beyond that because that's who I am.
Right. So it's about creating a map now. I call that rewriting your future. That is how, at one time you had this vision for yourself, but there's another time along the way using what Jaloki was inviting us to remember is remembering where we've been and honoring where we've been with amount of grace and recognizing that maybe it's just me, but I always haven't been in the best of spaces, right? And so when you're able to sort of then look at those things that you have used your everyday magic to apply, you then need to rewrite your future, use that magic based on the place. And I'll toss it to Jaloki, whether or not that's a metaphysical place, a place in consciousness where your soul just happens to be in the part of it, but it is a recognition of that journey, right? That we're on. And I think that's the trap of it, because if the magic wand stays all within the dominion of the mind, the dominion of the mind is going to say, well, yeah, I want everyone to have cheese and crackers, I want everyone to have $1 million or whatever, where you're still dealing in this frame of reference that isn't connected to those deeper aspects of who you are and who you are becoming, right? Because, and again, I'll toss it to you, Jaloki, after this. I think sometimes we can be woefully out of touch with who we have become in a positive way. Do you understand where I'm going with that, Jaloki? Which is that we don't give ourselves enough credit for the magic that led us to this particular moment. We could say, well, I do wish that my past had been different, but wait a second. The magic of whatever that is led me to here. And what am I becoming from that moving on? Is that a fair thing to look at, Jaloki?
From my perspective, I think yes, and I think I understand you. And I'm gonna even emphasize, and I'm gonna do a soccer thing here. I'm gonna assist, and pass the ball to someone just in a second, a minute. But not only understanding that every single things that have happened to me, that I've said, that I've done, brought to me where I'm right now, but particularly the thing that I didn't want, particularly the pain and the suffering, because it's not fun to say, but human beings, we usually grow further, faster, and stronger in adversity and in difficulty and in pain than when everything is easy, because then we don't want to change. So that's why I'm doing the assist. Maybe this is for another conversation, maybe next Sunday or another one, for and I don't have the question yet, the prompt yet, but the idea is to see the thing that I most abhor in my life, the pain, the trauma, the difficulty, the challenges, the suffering, as gift for a bright future. And I, this is for everyone, but I want to assist it to a saying.
Oh, I think that's great. We're, believe it or not, getting close to the end of our time together. And because you were talking about it, would this be a time for another gathering? I'm going to do something that I've never tried before. So I'm going to try it here on the actual live broadcast to see if it works. So if it does, kids, it does work. And if it doesn't, we'll wave a magic wand and hope that it doesn't. Because I want to try to come down here and I want to share my screen. I'm sure there's probably a much better way to do this than what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. We will be having some more conversations this time, if I can get to it, and I hope this works. We're going to do a 7-day online staycation to have some conversations around these particular topics. And so I have no idea if this is showing or not, but
Yeah,
It is.
I can see it. Yeah.
yeah. Next Sunday, we're going to be talking about, and as part of this 7-day shift, we're going to be talking about flipping how we actually gather. How can we change the idea of how we gather to create? We're going to wave a magic wand and flip how we gather. But some of the conversations that we're going to be then inviting people out during the week, not this coming week, but the following week, July 27th through the 31st, is some provocative questions that you're allowed to kind of come into, which is, what if you don't need fixing? Tuesday, we're going to talk about you're out of your mind, and that's okay. Wednesday, we revisit one of our favorite topics around here, which is, can you build a bridge while walking on it? On Thursday, there was no other better way to say this, but sometimes it's giving up, but sometimes you just say, fuck it. So how about
Beep.
how can we get past that?
Say it again, Jamie.
That's all right. Getting past fuck it when life,
Beep.
staying light when life is heavy. And then we're also then going to be talking about this whole idea, something that Claudia talks a lot about in the way I see it, which is that idea of shifting your life from ambition to meaning. And then we'll meet back here on Sunday, August 2nd, and discuss what happened when we flipped it. Now, here comes the thing. I'm hoping that I don't cut this all off. Are we back? We're back in the room. We did it. So I think we did it correctly.
High five.
So thank you. We will be doing this as part of, I hope I did that all right, as part of our gathering starting next Sunday in this particular space. As we wrap up for the hour, this has been a really magical hour. And I want to start with Claudia just to sort of see, are there some grounding thoughts that you can leave? Because you're always very good at taking things that have happened in your life and translating them into things that people might consider in terms of using their magic wand energy. Is it fair to ask you that question?
Yes, it's fair, although I'm not sure I have a very concrete answer at this point. I guess the only thing I could say is, and Sang said it better than I did, waking up every day and saying, okay, the magic wand is working in my life today. And how can I take that and move out into the world and be a force for love and for kindness, which the world needs so much today.
Beautifully said. I'll accept that. How about you, Ollie? Is there something that you would like to leave our listeners and our group with?
Yes, to tap into the wonderful magic words of what if, also yet, about the growth mindset, and finally, who can help me if we are stuck? Thank you.
You got it. Ray, I'll start with you.
Oh, well, I'm just going to connect in with. I'm going to follow Yoloki's lead and assist. I loved what Claudia shared with us that I think could be part of what Sang was saying for 7 days of being contributing towards something new. Is what if we looked at our vision boards as not static but evolutionary and rename them becoming boards? What am I becoming? So I love the fact that there was growth, expansion, and learning, yet connected into the journey of what Claudia shared with her vision boards.
And I have already gone to a website and trademarked becomingboards.com.
Right?
Or somebody watching this probably should. Jaloki, may I continue with you? That was beautiful, Ray.
I am the magic wand. You are the magic wand. You all are the magic wand. We are the magic wand. Let's start playing together.
Huzzah.
Woohoo!
Well, I was going to bring it back to as an alpha and omega moment to start with saying and end with saying, but that was a pretty strong ending, yes?
He's got it.
We all have it.
Yeah, we all have it. Yes, Yaloki brings the energy of calmness for sure to this group, and so yeah, I'm with that, and I'm gonna. Go ahead and do what Claudia said too. Every day we wake up, especially for the next 2 weeks. Especially while we're going through the open circle
7-day summer shift.
Yeah, the 7-day summer shift, and say that, and just be kind as you're doing it. Just change your own energy as you go, and you'll do exactly what Yaloki.
Yes, we're going to shift.
That's the power.
Yeah, so beautifully said. We're going to shift from BDE to MWE, Magic Wand Energy. May you all have some Magic Wand energy as you go through the week. Join us back here when we'll continue with the magic. We're so grateful that you are, and we're grateful again to the Breakthrough Show Network for allowing us to have these conversations on the network. Until next week, when we will be gathering to talk about how we flip, how we gather, enjoy the magic.